Go ahead, try it right now. Reach over and tickle your own ribs or run a finger along the sole of your own foot. Push as hard as you want. It won't work. You'll feel a dull rub at best, maybe a strange pressure, but never that helpless, involuntary burst of laughter a sibling or a friend can pull out of you in half a second. Something in you is blocking it, and that something is not willpower, it's biology. Before we get into why, hit like on this video, drop a comment telling us the last time someone actually got you with a surprise tickle attack, and subscribe if you want more of your own body's secrets explained. Now, back to the mystery. Think about how strange this actually is. You have full control of your own hand. You can move it exactly where you want at exactly the speed and pressure you choose. On paper, you should be able to replicate any touch a friend could give you. And yet, the result is nothing alike. The same fingers, the same ribs, the same amount of pressure, and one version does almost nothing, while the other version can drop you to the floor laughing. Somewhere between your hand and your own awareness, a filter is switched on, and it only switches on for you. Your brain knows the difference between your own hand and a stranger's hand before either one even makes contact. That single fact is the whole story. Somewhere behind your ear, tucked under the back of your skull, sits a walnut-shaped structure called the cerebellum. It doesn't just balance you when you walk, it runs a constant, silent simulation of your body in motion. Every time you plan to move a finger, your cerebellum drafts a preview of exactly where that finger is going, how fast, and how it will feel when it lands. Neuroscientists call this preview an efferent copy. Think of it as a text message your brain sends to itself right before your hand moves, a heads out that says, "This touch is coming, and here's exactly what it will feel like." This isn't a vague, general prediction either. Your cerebellum is remarkably precise. It calculates timing down to fractions of a second and pressure down to a fine gradient, tracking your intended movement from the moment the signal leaves your motor cortex to the exact instant your skin makes contact. By the time your finger actually reaches your ribs, your sensory cortex has already received the preview and matched it against the real thing. The two line up almost perfectly, and when a prediction lines up that well with reality, your brain treats the resulting sensation as old news, something already accounted for, nothing worth a strong reaction. Why would your brain bother doing that? In 1998, researchers Sarah Jane Blakemore, Daniel Walford, and Chris Fritt built something almost comically simple to test this idea, a robotic arm with a foam pad on the end. Participants controlled the pad themselves, sometimes with a slight delay added between their hand movement and the pad's touch on their palm. The results were exact. The less delay, the less ticklish the sensation felt. The more delay, the more it felt like someone else was doing it. Their brains weren't reacting to the touch itself. They were reacting to how well their cerebellum had predicted it. This is called sensory attenuation, and it's less a glitch than a survival feature. Picture what your nervous system would be dealing with if it treated every self-generated touch as a fresh, urgent event. The brush of your shirt against your arm, the pressure of your own hand resting on your leg, your tongue touching the roof of your mouth every time you speak. Without attenuation, your brain would be flooded, thousands of tiny alarms firing every waking minute for sensations that pose exactly zero threat. So your cerebellum quietly turns the volume down on anything it already predicted. It's not censorship, it's triage. You can actually feel the strength of this filter in smaller, everyday moments, not just tickling. Try to startle yourself by clapping your own hands right in front of your own face. It doesn't work the way a sudden loud clap from someone else would. Press your own finger into your own palm as hard as you can. Then picture a stranger doing that exact same motion with that exact same force. Your brain rates them completely differently, even though the physical input, the pressure, the contact, the location is identical. The only variable that changed is who your cerebellum credits as the source. That's the entire mechanism laid bare in something as small as a single touch. An unpredicted touch gets the opposite treatment. When someone else reaches for your ribs, your cerebellum has no efferent copy to compare against. There's no advance warning, no expected timing, no expected pressure. The signal arrives raw and full strength, and your nervous system reads it the way it reads anything sudden and unexplained near a vulnerable part of your body, as a potential threat. That surge of nervous energy has to go somewhere, and then humans, it tend to discharge as a specific, helpless laughter we call being tickled. That distinction actually has a name that goes back over a century. In 1897, psychologists G. Stanley Hall and Arthur Allen split ticklish sensation into two separate categories. The first, kismesis, is that light, barely there itch you get from a feather grazing your arm, something you could technically do to yourself and still feel. The second, gargalesis, is the intense, laughter-inducing version, the ribs and underarms kind, and this is the one that seems to require another person entirely. Gargalesis depend on unpredictability. Take away the surprise and you take away the effect, which is exactly why you can kinesis yourself, tracing a finger along your own arm, but you cannot gargalesis yourself, no matter how hard you dig into your own ribs. Notice that both of these are still touch. Same skin, same nerve endings, same body part in most cases. What separates them isn't the sensation itself, but how much your cerebellum can pin down in advance. A light, drifting graze is easy enough to half predict, even from someone else, so it rarely spikes into full laughter. A sudden grab at your own ribs is almost impossible to predict, timing, angle, and pressure all arriving at once, and that unpredictability is precisely what turns a simple touch into something your nervous system reacts to so strongly. There's a reason this response exists at all, beyond just biology. Gargalesis style tickling shows up almost exclusively in play between people who trust each other, parents and children, close friends, siblings wrestling on the floor. You rarely see it between the strangers, and when it does happen between people who don't know each other well, it tends to feel invasive rather than fun. Some researchers have proposed that this kind of tickling functions as a rehearsal for a real threat, a way for the nervous system to practice reacting to sudden contact near sensitive areas, wrapped inside a safe, social context. The laughter isn't really about the sensation being funny. It's closer to a controlled release valve, tension building and discharging in a setting where everyone involved knows nothing is actually wrong. That may be why tickling shows up so early in human development, long before a baby can speak, laughing helplessly the first time a parent's hand catches them by surprise. So, what happens when the prediction system gets it wrong or gets bypassed entirely? That 1998 robotic arm experiment already hinted at the answer. Add delay, and the self-touch starts to feel foreign. Even a fraction of a second was enough. The cerebellum's prediction was built for a specific moment in time, and once the actual sensation arrived later than expected, the match broke down, and the touch started registering more like something external. More recent work, including robotic self-tickling research from Konstantina Kilteny and colleagues, have pushed this further, showing that even small mismatches between when you move and when you feel the resulting touch are enough to fool your cerebellum into treating your own hand like it belongs to someone else. In these setups, participants controlled a robotic device that tickled their palm, and researchers deliberately introduced tiny gaps between the movement and the touch. As the gap grew, so did the ticklishness. Push the delay far enough and a self-inflicted tickle starts to feel almost as strong as one from another person. Break the timing and you can partially break the immunity. There are also rarer cases where the system doesn't function normally in the first place without any robotic arm involved at all. Some people with certain neurological differences, including specific cases linked to schizophrenia, show weaker sensory attenuation overall, and in some documented instances, report an unusual ability to tickle themselves. Their cerebellum isn't canceling the prediction the way it does in most people, so the touch keeps some of its unpredictable charge even when their own hand is the one making contact. It's a small detail, but it confirms the whole theory from the opposite direction. When the prediction system weakens, the immunity weakens right along with it. Which brings you back to the ribs you tried tickling at the start of this video and to something bigger hiding inside that one failure. Your inability to surprise yourself isn't limited to touch. It's the same reason you can't make yourself jump by sneaking up behind your own shoulder, no matter how quietly or suddenly you try. It's the same reason you don't consciously register the weight of your own head resting on your neck all day, or the constant press of your tongue against the roof of your mouth every time you speak, or the feeling of your own clothes shifting against your skin with every step. Every one of these is your cerebellum quietly running the same trick, predicting your own body so completely that it edits the ordinary out of your awareness and leaves only the unexpected loud enough to notice. In a strange way, this makes your cerebellum one of the most protective parts of your entire nervous system. It isn't hiding anything from you out of malice, it's making a constant split-second judgment call about what deserves your attention and what doesn't, filtering out an entire lifetime of self-generated noise so the genuinely new and potentially dangerous can still get through. A tickle from someone else survives that filter. A tickle from you never does, because your brain has already decided, correctly, that you're not a threat to yourself. Go ahead and try tickling your own ribs again. It still won't work, but now you know exactly which part of your brain is standing guard and exactly why it refuses to let you in on the surprise.